Hello class, we're about to start the exam 3 review for chapters 6, 7, and 8. Number 1, if there are 30 people at a meeting and 10 of them are men, write the ratio of men to women as a lowest terms ratio. So remember, it's a total of 30 people. 10 are men, so how many would be women? 20. So they want the ratio of men to women, so it would be 10 to 20. You can write it as a fraction. And then when we simplify this, this would be 1/2. Okay, so now we go here to number 2. It says write the ratio of 5.5 miles to 10.5 miles in lowest terms. So we have 5.5 over 10.5. Now, here's the thing. If you notice here, and this is what I would suggest you do. You look at the digits behind the decimal. Whichever one has the most digits, that's how many places you will move the decimal in the numerator and the denominator. It just so happens that both of these only have 1. So we will move this one place and move this one place. So this will give us 55 over 105. Now, with 55 over 105, we can divide both by 5. That will give us 11 over 21. Now, one thing I need to say is, if you are doing this, you cannot write this as a decimal. I know some people would just type this in their calculator and write it as a decimal, but they want this as a ratio, so it must be a fraction. Okay, now, we go here. Jill spent $1,744 during her 10-day vacation. Write this as a lowest terms rate. So, now it says write this as a lowest term rate. So we would have $1,744 divided by 10 days. Now, whenever we do a rate, that means that our unit values are different. So what we have is we have 1,744 divided by 10. So we would need to divide both by 2. So if we divide both of these by 2, you can use your calculator for this. You could take 1,744 divided by 2. And that will give you your numerator, which is 872. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. So it would be $872 divided over 5 days. And this is the lowest term rate. Now, if they ask for this as a unit rate, then what you have to do for a unit rate is find the decimal value. So you would take 872 divided by 5, and that will give you $174.40 per day, and it's per 1 day. So this right here would be your answer for B. Now, we go on to the next page. It says a car's odometer reads 75,235 at the beginning of a trip. 5 hours later, it reads 75,555. What is the average rate of speed of the car? So what you would do is you would take the new speedometer reading minus the old speedometer reading. Now, you can do this in your calculator, but this will give you 320. Now, it said it was a 5-hour trip, so it'll be 320 miles in 5 hours. Now, we want the average rate of speed, which is basically the unit rate. So we could take 320 divided by 5, and that would give us 64. So it'll be 64. You could put MPH, 64 miles per hour, or 64 miles divided by 1 hour. Okay, now, number 5. It says a food pantry is buying wheat bread and needs to calculate the unit price per loaf. 5 loaves of bread cost $6.50, and 12 loaves of bread cost $14.10. Which unit price is less? Justify your answer. Now listen up. Whenever you're dealing with money, money always goes first, and whatever else is being compared to goes second. So it'll be $6.50 divided by the 5 loaves. And then you will have $14.10 divided by the 12 loaves. So you would divide this 6.5 divided by 5, and that will give you $1.30. I'm going to write it below. It'll be $1.30 per loaf. Now we would take $14.10 and divide it by 12. And that would give us, and since we deal with money, we know we would just go to 2 decimal places, so it'd be $1.18 per loaf. So the 12 loaves are cheaper, so this will be your final answer. You'll write down 12 loaves are cheaper. Now you cannot just leave this final value here. You have to tell me specifically which one is cheaper. Okay. So now we have number 6. It says solve each proportion. Round answers to the nearest tenth. So if we're rounding to the nearest tenth, that means we're rounding to 1 decimal place. So we would do cross multiplication. We have x times 7 is equal to 16 times 2. X times 7 is 7x, and 16 times 2 is 32. We divide each side by 7, and we can take our calculator. 32 divided by 7 will give us, we have x, and it'll be approximately 4.6, because it said round to the nearest tenth. Okay, now we come to B. We have 1.1 times x is equal to 3.7 times 4.5. So we have 1.1x is equal to 3.7 times 4.5. And that gives us 16.65. Now remember, we do not round until we get to our final answer. So we'll divide each side by 1.1, and we will have x. So we'll divide that in our calculator, and we'll have x is approximately 15.1. Now we go to the next page. It says the fuel for a weed trimmer requires that 1 ounce oil be mixed with 20 ounces of gasoline. How much oil should be mixed with 130 ounces of gasoline? So we know we will have 1 ounce oil over 20 ounces of gas or gasoline. And that equals to, now we have the gasoline, but we don't have the oil. So now we could cross multiply. We have 1 times 130 is equal to 20 times x. So it'd be 130 equals 20x. We divide each side by 20. And we would take 130 divided by 20. And that would give us 6.5. So our answer here would be x is equal to 6.5 ounces of oil. Are there any questions? All right. Now we go to number 8. The proper dosage of a medicine for a 40-pound toddler is a half of an ounce. How much medicine should be given to a 60-pound child? So we have a 40-pound child divided by a half of an ounce. And that's equal to, we know that we have a 60-pound child here, but we don't know the dosage yet. So we will cross multiply. We have 40 times x is equal to 1/2 times 60. So we will have 40x is equal to half of 60, we know is 30. Divide each side by 40, and x is 3/4. So it'd be 3/4 ounce. Now the reason why we left it as 3/4 and not a decimal is because when we look up here in the problem, they gave us a fraction with relation to the ounce of the dosage. So we would keep it consistent. So now, number 9, a map scale that each half inch on the map represents 150 miles. You measure the distance you intend to travel as 6.5 inches on the map. How far will you be at? How far will you actually be traveling? So a half inch is 0.5 inches. And that would divide by 150 miles. And that would equal to, we would take the 6.5 inches, and we don't know how many miles yet. So now we will cross multiply. We add 0.5 times x and 150 times 6.5. So we add 0.5x is equal to, we'll take 150 times 6.5. And that will give 975. Now we'll divide each side by 0.5. And that will give us x will be 1,950 miles. That will be the final answer. Okay, now we go down here to A. Now A and B, basically you could do this in your calculator. We had a square root of 625. You would press the second function key and then this x squared key. And it gives you the square root symbol. Then type in 625 and that gives you 25. Now for B, you do not put this whole fraction into the square root. You would separate it like this. Square root of 81 over square root of 100. And you could take both of these separately. The square root of 81 is 9. And then you would take the square root of 100, which will give you 10. So your final answer, you can't simplify this, so your final answer would be 9/10. And I'll tell you on the test, I do not want this as a decimal. I want you to leave it as a fraction. Now we come here to 11a. It says solve for the missing side of each triangle. This is a right triangle, so we will use the Pythagorean theorem. Now we know directly across from the 90-degree angle is what we call the hypotenuse, or our C. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 15, and that's squared. B is 16, and that's squared. And now we're looking for C. So we would take 15 squared plus 16 squared. And that gives us 481. And that equals to C squared. Now, in order to get rid of the square off C, we would have to take the square root of 481 on both sides. I mean the square root on both sides. So now we could take the square root of 481. And that would give us 21, and this is a long decimal, but it tells us to round to one decimal place. So our answer here would be C, because I ran out of space, I'm going to write it up here, is approximately 21.9 meters. And that would be our final answer. Now we come here to B. If you notice, we have the hypotenuse and we have A, but we don't have B. So we would take A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So we have 6 squared plus B squared is equal to 12 squared. Now 6 squared we know is 36. Plus B squared and 12 squared is 144. We'll subtract 36 on both sides, and we will have B squared is equal to 108. So we would take the square root. We know we have to take the square root of both sides. So we'll take the square root of 108, and we know that'll give us 10.4 as the final answer. So we would take the square root of B squared and the square root of 108, and our final answer would be B is approximately 10.4 feet. That would be the final answer. Now we come here, it says given the triangles pictured are similar, solve for x in a diagram. We have what is called a proportion here. So if we look here, side x is equivalent to side 14, side 8 is equivalent to side 10. So now we write this as a proportion.